Ian, what's your reflections a day on from last night?
Oh, look, not a lot changed from last night. Disappointment. We hate losing, and it was a game with a whole lot of twists and turns, and things happened. But we just weren't good enough in that second half against a 15-man team. Many ways it kind of sort of had flashbacks to the 2017 Lions series. When that red card, and we had a lot of attitude. We tried hard, but we just weren't quite good enough in the end in that second test, and we're the same again last night.
What was removing and taking away that, but what was your opinion on the officials' decisions on that last night?
On the last?
Yeah, on the carding and the confusion, I suppose, and not having it in your guys' hands.
Oh, look, there was clearly confusion around the red card and what could happen after that. And to be fair to everyone, it was a revolving door there for a little while. But we're seeking clarification, and what happened was not what we thought should happen.
So just confirming, in hindsight, you guys would have liked Artie Savia to be playing that game.
Oh, there's no doubt. No doubt that we wanted Artie to go back on.
I don't want to get bogged down in what happened in your game specifically, but there were another 2 yellow cards in the game after yours in Brisbane. Are you beginning to get a little bit concerned that the game's gone too far in one direction? Too many cards being shown for offences that don't necessarily merit, they're not necessarily within the spirit of rugby at the moment?
Oh, personally, I think it's too far. Personally, I think we're in danger of turning a game into a card festival. There were clearly strong messages sent out last week. There was a feeling that we should have had 4 yellow cards last week. So, and it seemed to be the mindset that went into this game. So, it is what it is though. And I think if you look at our cards, you just got to look at them singularly, and we get the Leicester one. I think that's incredibly unfortunate, but they're the rules. So I don't think there's anything in that one. Offer we accept, and Angus, we kind of accept. But I think most people could see a change of direction, a big prop reacting, and a collision that's pretty unfortunate. But it is what it is.
Ian, do you think the Northern Hemisphere teams are doing a better job at adapting to this sort of cards festival?
Oh, if you look at the weekend, they did a pretty good job. It was a Northern Hemisphere weekend, wasn't it? With Wales getting up and England getting up and Ireland getting up. So in a many sense, it's whilst there's a bit of doom and gloom in our camp, it's actually a great weekend for world rugby, I guess. And it sets up next week pretty well. But clearly we've got to get better. There's a few situations we're going to go and ask why things didn't happen our way in that game. But that's a normal process. The trouble is when you lose, it sounds like you're sulking. But we just got to keep clarity on I guess the equitable side of how the game's been officiated.
Ian touched on the execution, I suppose, in particular in the second half. Have you been able to put your finger on why it wasn't up to the usual standard? Is that an individual thing? Is it a coaching thing? Is it a preparation thing?
Oh, look, I think we really wanted it in the second half, and I think if you look at that last 15 minutes of the first half, I think you saw how much we wanted. I mean, it was, we were down to 12 players, and we showed massive commitment and attitude and problem solving, and came through and scored that try. I think we should have got a penalty try just before the try we scored, but we ended up scoring a try and went at half time in a pretty good space. But you got 40 minutes to play, 14 versus 15 against a really well organised team, and I just thought our hands got hard. That was the key thing for me, is that sometimes when you get a bit tense, you want it too much, you start to snatch at the ball, and it was just some collision work and handling error that just showed probably how much we wanted it, but just not quite the smarts to trust what we do.
Does this team need to find a way to be more consistent week to week?
Yeah, well, we do, but consistently,
How do you find that?
well, 15 on 15 will be a good start. And, we haven't got a great record the last 15 years with red cards, and this, last night just reeked of the second Lions Test to me in many ways, where, we got a red card early, we held on and did what we needed to do, but just couldn't get across the line, and it felt like that last night. So, we got to learn, first of all, not to get red cards, and secondly, to make sure that we find a way to deal with them and not try to overplay our hand. I think you've got to get a bit more conservative when you're 14 versus 15, and we've got to perhaps get better at that. But wow, it's given us a great week, isn't it? And the fact is, whilst we're gutted, we know we got some extreme circumstances, and now we've just got to show that we're smart enough to learn. But we haven't become a bad rugby team overnight.
In terms of the fitness of your squad, guys like Angus, this head clash, can you give us a bit of an update, Caleb Clark and the like? How's your squad looking overall?
The squad's Caleb won't be right. He's just not quite there. So so that's disappointing for him. Angus, he's obviously taken a pretty severe head knock. So we'll go through the protocols with him. He'll also have a judiciary thing to go through. So that probably answers that. And apart from that, there'll be some jaded players, but we'll be ready to rock and roll on it.
Ian, I know last night it was horrible having to deal with the cards and stuff, but do you think we've learnt from Northern Tour last year? And last week was a great win, but have we learnt from last year?
I think we've made some significant gains. We're trying to change a few things. I think last week we showed that some of the things we're starting to work on come to fruition. This week we dealt some other cards, literally, in Test match rugby, and you don't always get what you want, and we didn't get what we wanted last night, and so how we adapt around that. So I don't think it's a true reflection of where we're at, but it's a true reflection of Test match rugby, and that we've got to be smarter, but really confident in the direction that we're tracking in the last couple of weeks.
You mentioned the second Lions Test. How do you approach this week to probably avoid a draw or worse this
Yeah,
week?
well, try not to get a draw next week. It's we've got to, in some ways, got to utilise that, because it's it's a really good Irish team, isn't it? And there's no doubt. I mean, you've seen, you've seen a couple of the top teams in the world go week in, week out, and it's been a fantastic series for us, and it's a great test for us. And so, we would have loved to have won 3-0 and I guess walked away and said, okay, we've really cemented everything. We've now got to go to Wellington, and a lot of pressure on, but mate, that's what it's all about. And it's again a great opportunity if we can actually climb the mountain this week and really grow what we started at Eden Park, then we can still finish this campaign in a really good spot.
Ozzy, can you remember a time when World Rugby's been this tight? In terms of last week we saw Southern Hemisphere teams all win, this week Northern Hemisphere feels like top 8 could all beat each other at any given day. Have you recalled a time quite like that?
Nah, look, not like this. I think it's it's kind of what everyone wanted, except we didn't want it, and so it's the fact is there's some strong teams out there, and look, I know our fans and that we hate losing, and it hurts like anything, but we've got a lot of belief inside this camp. We still want to be number one. I mean, you look at last night, I think if we'd won, and with Wales, when we might have even gone to number one in the world, that's how tight it is, but the reality is that we've got a bit of growth to do. We know that, and we've got some players who are learning quick, and there's no room for error. When you're playing Ireland, then you've got a couple against South Africa. So, but I've stated right at the start, that's what this team needs right now. And I know it's hurting, but we'll get there.
Paul, do you want to jump in?
And is Sam Whitelock going to be available this weekend? Because I think you made no secret of the fact that Scott Barrett would have been 6 if he would have been available.
Yeah, well, Sam, as per the protocols, he can train early this week, and then I think gets tested on the 12th day, but the signs are looking really good for him.
And is Tupou rejoining the squad?
Tupo?
Right.
Yes. Yeah, you know, he's, I think he gets out of isolation later today, and so we'll assess him, and he'll join up with us either tonight or tomorrow morning.
Last question, guys. Yeah.
I'll just, Ian, do you think that we have the right skill set for the physicality of these Northern Ireland or Northern Hemisphere teams?
Yeah, I do. You know, I've got you know, total belief in that side of it. I think you know, and if you know, like if you judge us on each game, I guess there'll be moments in each game that the answer is that we weren't quite physical enough. But no, we know that when we're in the house and when we play physically, that we're a very physical rugby team. And again, we saw that again in Eden Park, and I think we saw it for significant periods last night. I just don't think we were that smart and with our skill set when we're under pressure with playing against 15 men. And you know, I know you know, you can make a whole lot of things look bad when you have a loss, but sometimes we just got to find the one or two things that if we changed, that would get the biggest bang for our buck, and that's our job this week.